Hi, I'm Logan Molson. Thank you very much for joining me for my first ever YouTube channel. Today we'll be talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs 2023 to 2024 season preview. I figured the best way to start was to talk about 2022 to 2023. The Leafs were 50, 21, and 11 for 115 points, which was fifth in the NHL, which is really good. They're second in their division, only behind the Boston Bruins, who had an historic run, and I see them pushing for first this year in their division. Their goals for was 3.39 per game. That's eighth in the NHL, top quarter of the league. Can't argue with that. Their goals against was 2.56 per game, 26th in the NHL, which you want it to be as low as you can. So bottom quarter of the league. That's amazing. When you're in the bottom quarter for both, that is awesome. Their power play was 26%, which was second in the NHL, only behind the Edmonton Oilers. The power play went through slumps where they could not put a puck in the back of the net. If they can find a way to even that out, they're pushing for first. Their penalty kill was 81.8%, which is 12th in the NHL, 0.2% behind 10th. It's still an amazing penalty kill. I see the penalty kill dropping a little bit, losing some important penalty killers, but I see the power play going up easily. Cap space is the biggest issue for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're $2,943,950 over the cap. So they're going to have to shed that amount before the season starts. I made just a mock lineup of what I think it'll be on the opening night. For the cap here, they're $602,717 under the cap. So yeah, this is really what I just think opening night roster is going to look like. First line, new Toronto edition, Tyler Bertuzzi. I think he'll look amazing on the first line. $5.5 million from 1 year. That's pretty good. Pretty good. He looked amazing with Boston after the trade deadline, and then in the playoffs he was unreal. Bit of an off year with Detroit last season, but yet again, if we get Boston Bruin Tyler Bertuzzi, I'll be happy. In the middle, Austin Matthews, top 3 player in the NHL, top 2 center. Yeah, he's amazing. Off season last year with 40 goals, 45 assists in 78 games. That's 85 points. Yeah, that's amazing for an off season. I see him getting over 100 points, 50 goals minimum. Next season, I'm very excited to see what he can do with his brand new contract. On the right, I see Mitch Marner being there. Mitch Marner is an amazing player. I see him getting over 100 points this year for the first time. He had 99 last year, 30 goals, 69 assists. I see him getting over 100 points. I'm hoping for 115 points, but that's just what I think is going to happen. On the second line, I'm going to start on the right this time. William Nylander. William Nylander is an amazing player who really broke out last year. I think he's been building himself up, and he's just getting better every season, and that's really what you want to see from a guy on your second line, right winger, who can also play on the first line. He's a first line winger on most teams, but just because of Mitch Marner, he's on the second line. That's the only reason why. In the middle, the washed up John Tavares, who is still a point a game player and is most definitely not washed up. Maybe he's not worth his $11 million contract, but he's still really good. On the left, this is why I wanted to start on the right. Matthew Knies. I see Knies starting off on the second line and working his way up or dropping himself down. He looked really good in the playoffs, and I don't really see him dropping below the third line. I just can't see it. I can't even see him on the third line. There's definitely a lot of competition in that. And those 3 left wingers right now, because we just signed them. But yeah, there's a lot of. I see him making that second line. I see him as a top 9 forward. Fourth line, I just don't see it at all. I hope he proves me wrong and finds a way to jump up onto the first line. But if he can, if he stays on these two lines, he's up for the Calder. Um, Third line, Max Domi. Oh, I'm very excited about this one. Max Domi. The Leafs said they wanted him on the left, so here he is on the left. Yeah, he's an amazing player. I've wanted him for a while as well. Him and Bertuzzi this season, I was like, oh, okay, well, they're gonna get I hope they go for one of them, and they signed Bertuzzi, and I was like, okay, that's it, I'm happy. Brad's done his job, and then he goes and gets Max Domi, and I'm like, oh, can we really afford that? Not really, but I don't care. Yeah, he looked good with Dallas. He looked good. He's a good player. 3 million 1 year. He wants to be in Toronto. He's really excited to come here. I'm excited for what he can do. In the middle, Pontus Holmberg. Last year, Holmberg looked like an NHL player. Now, what is an NHL player? He's a guy who's kind of boring. You didn't really notice him, which is good. He's a young player. Do you really want to notice him all that much if he's our third line center? Not really. Kind of want him to do his job, stay in there, keep pucks away, play a defensive kind of role, have an offensive spark if he needs it, and that's exactly what he is. He just looks like an NHL player already. On the right, Calle Yarncroke. Very defensive forward, but he looked amazing in the offensive zone when playing with Matthews and Marner. I think that's when he really sparked. The second half of the season, he was great. I like Calle Yarncroke. I like that deal. $2 million. I'm excited to see what he can do this season. Fourth line, Sam Lafferty on the left. I like him a bit more as a right winger, but yet again, cap space. So Sam Lafferty, defensive kind of guy. He was okay with the Leafs. Part of the McCabe deal. I think McCabe was the main guy They were going for. So Lafferty's a good extra. In the middle, David Kampf. Kampf and Holmberg can be swapped out if you want to. It doesn't really matter to me. Kampf does make $2.5 million, so I understand why you'd want to move him up. But I think letting Holmberg kind of grab that spot, that third line spot, and then letting Kampf just run the penalty kill the way he wants to is a good way to do it. On the right of David Kampf, Ryan Reeves. Now, Ryan Reeves is a guy who I don't really see playing a lot of games for the Leafs, which is why I see a trade coming, not involving him, but just involving someone. Because, yeah, that cap space, you really need someone from the Marlies to come up and kind of grab that spot from Reeves and just bring Reeves in games where you want to beat the crap out of your opponents. So, yeah, that's how I see Reeves slotting into the lineup, maybe 6 minutes a night to start off, but I do see him making the opening night roster. On defense, Morgan Rielly on the left. Morgan Rielly proved in the playoffs that he is still an amazing defenseman, and anything anyone has ever said about him is completely wrong. He showed up when it mattered, and oh my God, was he was the Leafs' best player by far. It was not close. TJ Brody, I think, will play beside him. Rielly Brody has worked before, again and again. Brody is one of the most underrated defensemen in the league. And I'm not saying this with the Leafs bias. He just is. He's an amazing defenseman, and he does not get enough recognition. I see him playing beside Morgan Rielly, and I love that defensive pairing. Second line, Jake McCabe will be on the left. He was good with Toronto, a bit shaky in the playoffs, but I mean, I get it. Toronto, there's a lot of pressure. The media kind of puts a spotlight on you, and every single flaw you make gets picked out. But yeah, I still thought he was good. I think next season he'll have a better spark, more chemistry playing on this team. And beside him, John Klingberg, who, honestly, I don't know how to feel about this yet. He's a puck-moving defenseman who plays almost no defense at all. But he's a defenseman. I think his card said 0% effectiveness in the defensive zone. I'm hoping he can raise that. He was on a pretty bad team, so I think he can lift that number up. But I mean, we'll find out. Mark Giordano on third line lefty. Yeah, Giordano didn't look that good in the playoffs. Um, I hate to say it, but I'm hoping he can kind of bounce back. I know he's getting older, final year of his contract. This is it for him. This is the last season, I think. So, I'm really hoping the Leafs can kind of space out his time. He can't play a full season. Uh, you kind of got to play him for a bit and then kind of keep him healthy for the playoffs. He's old for a hockey player. So, yeah, give him some more time off the ice. But playing beside him, young Timothy Liljegren. Timothy Liljegren, amazing player. He worked himself into a playoff spot on the roster. And then a couple weeks before the playoffs, he really proved that he was not ready at all. And Justin Hall was the better defenseman. I know a lot of Leafs fans are going to get upset with me saying that. But yeah, Timothy Liljegren proved that he was not ready. And Justin Hall took that spot from him, which I was really sad about. I think he's going to make the roster no matter what. I really wish the Leafs would have hung on to Rasmus Sandin. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Goaltending. Ilya Samsonov, last season, he played 42 games, was 27, 10, and 5 with a 919 save percentage, which is really good. If he can back up those numbers again, then I'm fine with him walking after this season, and I say keep him. Keep him for this season, and then find a new goaltender next season, especially with Hellebuck's contract being up. Joseph Woll, I see him being the backup. He only played 7 games, but proved to be a backup, even taking Matt Murray's spot in the playoffs, even though Matt Murray was still kind of injured. Played 7 games. He was 6-1-0 with a 932 save percentage in those games. He was great. I loved him. I'm so excited for what he can do. And yeah, that's our goaltending tandem. The extra guys, Nick Robertson, I'm hoping he can finally grab a spot this year. Injuries have kind of screwed his luck, but I'm hoping he can grab a spot. Dylan Gambrell, who we just signed this season. I'm not expecting too much for him, but he can come in as a depth guy. Easton Cowan, signed him this year. I don't know if he's going to play any games, but I wrote him down just in case. First overall draft pick. He was pretty much what that Sandin trade was all about now, especially with Gustafsson leaving. So yeah. And then Bobby McMahon, he was amazing for the Marlies. Really proved that I think he can be an NHL player. He's a bit older. He's 27, maybe 28 now. But yeah. On defense, Legason and Timmins. Timmins is going to grab an NHL spot here. Whenever an injury happens, let's say Liljegren, Klingberg, McCabe, anyone goes out, he's up. He's the 7th defenseman. Martin Jones. Martin Jones was, I know his numbers aren't great, but he was good for Seattle. He played 48 games. I know, 48 games. He was 27, 13, and 3 with an 887 save percentage, which is not good. His numbers aren't good. Nope. They're bad. But I am excited to see Jones. Exits. Michael Bunting went to Carolina. Definitely going to miss him. He did kind of screw himself out of a contract with the Leafs. I don't even think they offered him one after he got suspended in the playoffs. But it is always sad to see him go. He was a good locker room guy, and he was a pretty good player. Ryan O'Reilly went to Nashville. He didn't like the pressure of playing in Toronto, so you know what? I get it. Luke Schenn, who I was actually very surprised to see leave. It seemed like he really wanted to be a Maple Leaf, but we didn't have the cap space for how much money he wanted. So, yeah. Justin Hall, Detroit. I liked Hall. I liked his penalty kill abilities. I didn't like anything else about him. Even strength, he was a liability in that final year. Horrible in the playoffs. Bad player in the playoffs. But, yeah, he's gone to Detroit. Noel Acciari, I wanted Acciari to stay. That one really hurt. He went to Pittsburgh to be with Kyle Dubas. Of course he did. So yeah, Zach Aston Reese, I think he's still a UFA. If I'm wrong about that, then I'm sorry, but he's a UFA right now while I'm recording this video. Wayne Simmons, he's going to retire. He's not playing another NHL game. Gustafson went to the New York Rangers, so Easton Cowan's all we have left of that Sandin deal, so there's a lot of pressure on Easton Cowan right now to make that deal worth it, or else it's a steal for Washington. Eric Schalligan went to the New Jersey Devils, and I would have liked to keep him for his contract. I'll talk about that in a second. Who did we add? We added Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Domi, and Ryan Reeves, and Dylan Gambrell on offense. Gambrell's kind of depth guy. Reeves, only coming in and fighting. Bertuzzi, Domi, amazing. That is what the Toronto Maple Leafs needed, and I'm so excited. John Klingberg, William Lagesson. Yeah, Klingberg, I think if he can raise his defensive abilities, he'll be amazing in Toronto. I think he's exactly what we needed, a nice, good puck-moving defenseman who that's all he does. Second power play unit. First belongs to Morgan Riley, but yet again, you can change that up, doing a split. I don't know. I have my idea of what the power play lines are going to be. I know what I would want them to look like. I won't get into that right now. Okay, I have a couple question marks beside players. We'll start with Martin Jones. 1 way contract. I don't understand that. He's going to play the not regular season. He's going to play in the preseason, be put on waivers to go down to the Marlies, so Wall's the backup, and he's going to get claimed off waivers immediately because we don't have the cap space for him. So there has to be a trade coming, or I don't know, but he's going to get claimed. Yeah, he's a good third goaltender. Oh, God. Yeah, I don't understand why that was a 1-way deal. He's getting claimed. So I don't know who your third goal is going to be. There's another question mark beside Ilya Samsonov. If Ilya Samsonov doesn't perform, he's not going to re-sign with the Leafs no matter what. So I actually have a trade proposal that I've been thinking of. If he doesn't perform, if he's not doing well, and Wall is a bit shaky, he's not doing that good, you got to move him. My trade is to Toronto, Connor Hellebuck. 50% retained. Hopefully Hellebuck signs here next season. We have a lot of cap space. To Winnipeg, Ilya Samsonov, a 2024 first-round pick, 2024 fifth-round pick, which belonged to Chicago, and a 2026 third-round pick. They were going to lose Hellebuck for free if they decide to keep him. So I think getting a first, fifth, and a third is better than losing him for free. So yeah, and that's it. That's my 2023-2024 season preview for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I hope you liked it. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked this video, please click like. If you really liked it, click subscribe. Thank you very much.